it over quite yet. Hopefully that'll happen this week. We'll have it actually live. So I'm just getting started with it.
Okay, what do you guys do?
Okay, so we treat biohazardous waste. So there's we basically pick up containers. We have to track containers. We have to manifest containers, and
Gotcha.
we do probably about 1,300 invoices a month by just manually inputting them. So this was a great opportunity for us to have something that integrated directly to QuickBooks for billing and that type of thing.
Perfect. I'm going to kind of run through just the basics here. It's going to be relatively short. The main goals for today, beginner session 1, understand how our software works with QuickBooks.
Okay.
Be able to set up users to log into the software to begin with. And then third step we're going to look at is setting up routes, or the different schedules in which you do the collections or pickups.
Okay.
And any questions along the way, please feel free to stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of just keep going here.
Okay, sounds good.
The QuickBooks Maintenance menu, when you first log into the software, you're really only given one default login, and that's username admin, password admin.
Mm-hmm.
When you first log in, you get the QuickBooks Maintenance menu. You're going to see this screen every time you open up RouteStar, and it's just your reminder that you do need to sync with QuickBooks. We usually recommend you do it beginning or end of every day, at least once a day, just by hitting the top button. That's going to look at QuickBooks, see if anything's changed as far as items and customers go. Now, throughout the day, if, let's say, someone enters in some payments in QuickBooks or enters in a new customer and you want to see that information in RouteStar, you could just hit Update Only Customers, the second button. This way it's a much quicker sync just looking at the customers with the information that has changed. Same with inventory. Inventory is basically your item list from QuickBooks. That's what you'll use to charge all the customers some sort of item for gallons picked up or something like that.
Okay.
Now the lower half of the menu here, this is to sync with some of the not so used parts of QuickBooks or stuff that you really don't change too much in QuickBooks, like your terms or templates, vendors, chart of accounts. This information can be loaded just by selecting it and hitting the reload button.
Okay.
Now you can always bypass the maintenance menu just by hitting close. That'll take you into the program. Now it's important to note the way we work with QuickBooks is we treat QuickBooks as always right, even if it's wrong. Meaning if you have a customer number, a phone number entered in QuickBooks and you change it in RouteStar, it will not change your QuickBooks. The next time you sync with QuickBooks, whatever's in QuickBooks actually overwrites any changes in RouteStar.
Okay.
Now to set up usernames and passwords to be able to log into the desktop software, that's under our settings menu. And we have a user list. So here you can see the default username, admin. So you could put in, I'll put in my name so I could be able to log in, put in whatever password. And then we have security levels. When dealing with the desktop software, you have levels 1 through 5. When working with our mobile devices, you only have basically levels 1 and 2. Level 2 for the mobile devices when you're dealing with security is basically what we consider a basic user for mobiles. They're only able to see their work. They can't see item prices or costs, stuff like that. They'd only really be able to see their schedule, open up a manifest, adjust quantities for what they're picking up, capture signatures, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Now there's no save button in RouteStar, so I've added my username. Treat the close button as save and close. So now if I wanted to, I'd be able to log back in using the new username. Now also under our settings here, this is how you can access some of our resources as far as viewing training videos. All of this ties in, those links tie into our online help page, which is support.westernsoftware.com. So to view RouteStar help, you can hit view help and then look at any one of the categories.
Great.
So now let's get into setting up the route schedule. I'm just going to go to the routing drop-down and hit route schedule. So this works very similar to an Excel spreadsheet. Each row on this page is going to be one stop on the schedule. The first thing we actually have to do is set up our frequencies. You can do that just by double-clicking in the frequency field, or I believe we could go to Route Info and go to Route Frequencies.
Okay.
So obviously you're going to have a couple default ones here, like a weekly. So I'm just going to give it a name. And a weekly would be once every 7 days. You could have an every other week, which would be once every 14. And you could even do like a monthly, once every 28 days. You can even have something on here, we can call it a off schedule or one time, which would not reoccur. So my length of days is 0, and I can tell the software to delete after posting the route, meaning once that service has been completed, it will remove itself from the schedule.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you would think you would need for a frequency, or does that pretty much cover it?
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's no, there's some that are 3 days a week. So I would and some are 2 days a week. With the 2 days a week, I would probably have to set up 2 different frequencies, two different weekly frequencies, I'm guessing, because if it's a Tuesday Friday, then I would have to, because it's 2 different, it would alternate. I would probably have to set it up as a different frequency for each day. I would guess that's how we have it currently.
I would set up something called like maybe 2x weekly, which is still once every 7 days, and I could create a 3x weekly, which again is still going to be once every 7 days. It just allows me to filter 2 times a week customers versus 3 times a week customers. And the only difference between a weekly, a twice a week, and a 3 times a week, if they're twice a week, Tuesday, Friday, they'd be on the schedule 2 times. They'd be twice a week for Tuesday, twice a week for Friday.
Right. Yep, that makes sense.
So once we got our frequencies set up, they'll now show up in the drop-down. Next thing we need to do is set up what we call our routes, or the technicians. We can double-click in the route field, or you could go to Routing, Route List.
Okay.
You can use any type of label to kind of categorize the routes or to label the route. I'm just going to use like R1 for Route 1, and I can put in a text name.
Okay.
If I had 2 drivers, R2, second guy's name.
Okay.
I will want to double-click in the department field and make sure I have a department set up called Route or something along those lines. Make sure it's checked off as the default, and we want to make sure that each one of the technicians is in that same department. This will tie in down the road for reporting.
Okay.
Now there are 2 ways to basically track one of these drivers to an employee in QuickBooks, and you can do that through a class or a sales rep. So each driver could be their own sales rep within QuickBooks, and you could attach that here and pick the correct sales rep for the driver. That way when invoices are produced and sent into QuickBooks, that sales rep will actually carry over to represent the driver, so you could run revenue reports by driver out of QuickBooks.
Okay.
You could use the class for the same thing. If you already have sales reps, you want to just track drivers through a class. In QuickBooks, you can go to Lists. I believe it's Other Lists, and then you'll see an option for Class List.
Okay.
So once we have our drivers set up, you're ready to start adding stops to the schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and add some stops that are weekly. We'll work on Route 1 schedule first, and we'll just start setting up today's schedule. So I can pick today's date. When I click in the day field, it'll show me Monday. And this will be stop number 1 for Monday for Route 1, and then I can pick a customer. What we've just set up, that is the bare minimum. We've set up a weekly reoccurring Monday service for Route 1.
Okay, and the route day that you set in will be the first day of the schedule.
Yep, this will be the starting date of service, and then going forward, this date changes every week. So when this service is complete, this rolls 7 days, or whatever your frequency is.
Right. Okay.
So if we were going to add our second stop, just like we did the first one, today's date, stop number 2, and we'll pick our customer. If those are all the stops we had for Monday, now we're going to set up Route 1's Tuesday. We're just going to keep continuing on Route 1. Now this is Tuesday. This will be stop number 1 for Tuesday for Route 1, and again, we'll pick another customer. So we don't need frequencies that are specific. You don't need like a weekly Monday frequency, or you don't need a Route 1 Monday. You could just have a Route 1 and a weekly, because we can always go, I want to see Mike's schedule for Tuesday.
Gotcha.
See all of his Tuesday stops.
Okay.
The top line, as you can see, we can use to filter or sort the list. Anytime we've done that, we want to get back to the full schedule. That's what we have a reset or refresh button. You can also use right-click to filter and sort. So if I want to see everything on the 3rd here, I could right-click, filter by selection, or I could filter it between 2 dates. If I right-click, I can then go to between, put in 2 date ranges, or even directly export this to Word or Excel for your own reporting.
Okay.
Now you can see we have a route and a route date. We also have an assigned to and an assigned date. By default, they should match up. We use the assigned to and the assigned date for route reassignments. So if Route 1's sick and we need to put some of these stops to our other guys, I could just change the assigned to for Monday to Route 2. Now this would show up on Route 2's mobile, or if you printed a schedule, it would show up, but then it's still going to default the next week back to whatever's in the route column.
Okay. So the route part is the constant, and the assigned to is where you can change things.
Like
and if,
temporary,
and if you don't change it, it's just going to be a repeat of the route.
Exactly.
Okay.
Same with the assigned date. So normally this week it's saying it's supposed to be scheduled by the route date on 6/2. Well, if whatever happens, he can't get to all his stops, I could reassign this to 6/3 just for this week. It's still going to advance 7 days off the route date and show up on the next Monday, even though we've reassigned it.
Gotcha. Okay.
To make a permanent change, you either change the route or the route date for a permanent schedule change.
Okay.
So now if I want to print a schedule, so let's say I want to print Route 1 schedule for Monday. I could go to Routing, Print Route Sheets. From here I could pick a route that I want to print or leave it blank for everyone. I could put in a date range, so I could do a week or just 1 day, and then I have a bunch of different templates to choose from. This is just a different look and feel of that schedule. If I put in a whole week, let's put in until the 6th, I can actually do a route schedule by week. This will then give me a column. Monday, here are the stops. Tuesday, here are the stops. If we had Wednesday, it would just keep adding a column until we get to the end of the week.
Okay.
If you want details, there's obviously different ones. Route schedule condensed. You can have some with phone numbers, some with addresses, all sorts of different views.
Okay.
Now if we click the route notes, we'll see any service address tied to the customer. Now this brings up a good point. RouteStar uses the physical service address from the shipping address field in QuickBooks. So if I go to my customer list in RouteStar, this location address is actually the shipping address line 2 from QuickBooks.
Okay.
So if we double-click a customer name, it takes us into customer detail. You can see this is how you want your shipping addresses formatted in QuickBooks. Physical address on that second line, company name on the first line, and then you can have your city, state, and zip.
Okay. We have a couple of customers that have like 20 ship-tos under one customer name. Do I have to separate all those different sites out in QuickBooks to have different accounts?
Yes, you're going to have to separate them out to job basically make them a job of a parent company.
Right. So when it comes to invoicing, though, each one's going to receive, each site will receive a separate statement because we'll have different customers listed under QuickBooks, because right now it's all under one customer name with a bunch of ship-tos.
Yep. This way you'll be able to track revenue for each site. So each site will get its own invoice, but if you went to the parent customer, you would see all the invoices for all the sites. And what a lot of our accounts do is, you could leave them the invoice after the service per site and then just send a statement to the parent for all the sites once a month out of QuickBooks.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Then I can have one customer name and then a bunch of ship-tos under it, and then it will take out. I cannot. Okay, all right.
You cannot. We only are.
Okay.
RouteStar only sees the active ship-to address for that customer. So you are going to have to split out and make job sites. You don't have to make individual customers. If you look at, I have a customer here, the sporting goods place. It has 2 locations.
Okay.
And let me open up QuickBooks, and I'll show you what that looks in QuickBooks just so you can replicate it.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, QuickBooks is being a little slow. All right. So in my customer list, you can see how I've got, like that sporting goods company, but then they've got 2 indented accounts.
Okay.
So if you pick any regular customer and you want to add a location to it, this is what you'll do for each one of the ship-tos. Highlight the customer, go up to the top here, and hit Add a Job.
Okay.
And it'll then basically say that this is a customer, this is the parent company, this is the new job site, so we could put in a name here.
Okay. I see.
And then you get a new ship-to. So now I have a new ship-to address for this job. And when I hit OK here, it'll actually make it inted right like that.
Right on. So we've been using 11, and as we're moving over, we're going to 14. So this is kind of a new thing to me, so that's good. That problem got solved, I think.
Yeah, this, believe it or not, this has been a feature of QuickBooks since 2007 or 8, but no one, for whatever reason, no one makes the connection that you can use a job site to manage multiple service locations. It works out real well because now in the server or in RouteStar, when you're at your customer list, this first drop-down is a parent. This drop-down will show you every customer that's got multiple locations. When you pick the parent company, then your drop-down only shows you those sub-locations or those service locations of the parent company.
Okay, can you show me again how you create the sub-locations of the parent company in RouteStar?
It has to be done in QuickBooks.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it then. All right. So you create it there, and then it pulls it over. All right. Sounds good.
All right, so we went over setting up frequencies in the route schedule. Now what you'll do, the last kind of piece of what we'll cover in the beginners, without getting into too much depth, is setting up the billing. So we've got the customer on the schedule. Now how do we charge that customer each service? Well, I'm sure, you've got, some customers that you may do the, containers. You have some you may charge by the gallon. Some you may have like a flat rate for service, regardless of how many times or how much you pick up.
Right.
So if you double-click the customer name right from the route schedule, it's going to take you customer detail, and then I need to go to the pricing tab.
Okay.
So here what you want to do is kind of build what we'll call like a standard order. On a typical pickup or service, this customer, we will pick our items from QuickBooks. So they may do, they may buy Sharps every time. They may not, but you want to basically think of this from the mobile device as you're saving your guys a step. Even if they don't do Sharps that visit, they may get it on some frequency. So you can put that on there. Have biomedical waste treatment is $80 a visit. So you're going to put everything on here that you're going to use to possibly bill this customer. Now, per service, when the guy's looking at his manifest, he's going to check off, okay, we sold 4 Sharps containers, so he'll select that item and change the quantity from 0 to 4. Otherwise, if the quantity is 0, it's not going to show up when he prints the manifest.
Okay. So show me where you, like if you have the same, that biomedical waste, and it's a different price for each container, or different for each customer. So you just can go in there and just edit it right there.
Yep. When I select this, what loads is the QuickBooks default, and call that your retail price. That is, a generic new customer walks up, that's what they're going to get. Now, the nice thing about RouteStar, the reason why people move to us is because you can do customer-specific pricing. So without having to create a whole other item for a different price, I could say this customer is $75 and just make that change.
Yep.
Easy.
Right.
Now you have a default invoice quantity. So if they always get 4 Sharps containers every visit, you could put that in.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you leave it blank, it'll treat it as a 0. That way the guy just adjusts it on the date of the service.
Okay. So let's say that they may buy a whole bunch of stuff. Do I have to put everything that they may want to buy here if there's potentially a default price anyway?
The only thing you really are required to put in here is what you charge per service. Like if you charge $20 per container, you're going to put the line item, medical waste pickup per container, that's set at the sales price $25, and then that way the guy can just adjust the quantity for the amount of containers, and then he can always add items not on this pricing list in the field. So on the fly, he could say, what, they need Sharps, so we can go add items and pick from the regular QuickBooks item list.
Okay, right on.
To upsell
that would
Sharps.
Be a standard type price.
Yep.
Okay.
If it's a specific price for Sharps, you would want to set that here.
Okay, I got it.
Now, once you get your hands on RouteStar and you're starting to set this up, the first thing I want you to do is go to the settings and control settings.
Okay.
These are the software, all the settings in the software are, and you need to change our industry to medical.
Okay.
This way you get the medical waste tab. This allows you basically a couple different template versions you can pick between before a hard copy manifest, and you can customize any of the text in here.
Okay.
Now, obviously this is for hard copies, but you're going to want to have, I know probably you're going to be using the mobile devices to save the time and the paper and everything, but, with technology you always want to back up, so set up your manifest template here just in case one day technology is not on your side and you have to print out manifests for the guys to fill out.
Okay.
And that's usually what we're going to go over, just the basics, setting up the routes, how to set up your users, how to sync with QuickBooks.
Okay. So show me how to sync with QuickBooks. Let's say I did it there, and how it would come in, and how I have to sync every day.
As soon as you log in, you'll see that QuickBooks Maintenance menu.
Okay.
And it'll pop up every time, and beginning of the day, you can just hit Update RouteStar from QuickBooks. You just have to make sure QuickBooks is open when you hit this button, and then it'll synchronize.
Okay, so how?
Go ahead.
So when a driver sees he's doing a pickup, how do I view what's been done prior to updating with QuickBooks? So if I want to see if he made any errors or things like that.
This right here, this maintenance menu, this only goes one way, from QuickBooks into RouteStar.
Okay.
We covered in the Wednesday class, we talked at the advanced session, we'll talk about in the invoicing side how to
Okay.
basically get the invoices completed from the driver into QuickBooks, and that's done
Okay.
through a different screen. Basically, you'll be looking at a pending invoice list, everything pending to go to QuickBooks, and from here you'll hit post to
Okay.
QuickBooks and actually send them in.
Okay. So yeah, okay. So this just gets data basically from QuickBooks into into RouteStar.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The only time we actually send stuff back into QuickBooks is it'll always be a button that says like post to QuickBooks or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Brett, I appreciate you coming to the class here. I'll have a recording of this up on our help website by the end of today. Otherwise, look forward to maybe seeing you on Wednesday. Any questions you have, just use the chat now in the top. You can go to training support, and we have guys here that can help you out if you get stuck.
Okay. Sounds good. I think I've got to wait until they migrate everything over to our current server. Once that happens, then I'll be able to use it actively, I guess. Because right now they're in a test mode kind of thing.
Well, I'm finally glad they were able to get that worked out. I apologize about the wait.
You and I both.
Take care.
So, okay. So I'll sign up for the advanced class, and I'll go from there. Thank you so much for your help.
Perfect. Anytime. Bye.
Bye-bye.